boys and girls, and welcome to Ommy'z World, and I'm back. I'm back with Kizzy and Stamps. That's right. We are moving on to journal number 27, and we're a little behind, but we're going to get caught up today. So let's get started. We are starting with Kizzy. Let's see where she's at. All right, December 26, 1963. Let's see what's going on with our friend Kizzy. Well, it wasn't our finest Christmas, but it was done. James smiled some. It seemed like a new work of gloves that I gave him was a good idea. He even said thank you, which was 2 of the 5 words he uttered all day long. Everyone loved the gifts that I made at school. Granny Bitch just raved. You'd think she'd never seen a pot holder and dream catcher made out of yarn and popsicle sticks. It was nice, though, to see my family happy and to know I helped them make them feel good. Shag and I went outdoors after church ended. Does your church have a special service on Christmas Day? Ours is quite long, but not boring like church sometimes can be. We have lots of singing and then our pageant with little kids pretending to be shepherds, angels, and baby Jesus. We finished this rendition of Hark the Herald, which is my most favorite Christmas song ever. Shag and I walked sort of haphazardly our legs, for once not gobbling up miles. Even though the Christmas service is a nice one, sometimes being cooped up in our house and then church is just overwhelming to me. I feel my muscles scream to stretch and my lungs ache to open on air that isn't trapped and stagnant, overflowing with the rich aromas of cornbread, country ham, and corn pudding, and the pungent odors of Pastor Moore's talcum powder that he slathers all over himself, an old lady drinker, stale and lightly mummified scent of gardenia perfume. Woo! Mixed with the runny eggs she spills all over herself every church day. I always need to get out and be on my own for some time at Christmas with Shag and I. And we take our time, meandering around until I can look back at my family's faces. I know it seems strange to feel this way about a holiday, but Christmas sometimes settles in my chest until it feels like I'll pop. My walk took us out a couple miles, and on our way back, we came near Frank Charles's land. I wasn't looking for trouble, and I sure wasn't looking for Frank Charles. I just wanted to walk in some space of my own. And the creek I followed happened to come close near the Fegans' meadow. Then something caught my eye, like a silver shadow. I suppose an instinctive call to Shag me. And I ran toward the shadow with the lightest tread I could manage. As I close to the spot, I heard voices, angry and shouting. I don't know why, Miss Anderson, but I started a strange shaking inside, like my whole being was afraid and chilled to the bone. I got myself to the grove of mossy-footed oaks and huddled there, waited for it to stop shaking. Shag crouched beside me, and I realized why I was shaking. It was James's voice I heard. He was shouting at some of the Fegans' cows, 3 straggly cattle that now found their way blocked by James, Cabby Simpson, and Montgomery Watkins. The boys were waving knives, yelling at the cows, and herding them the small smoking shed where the Fegans kept their curing meat. Those cows were looking all spooky, and the whites of their eyes showing like the petticoat that always pokes out of Granny Bitch's dress. They'd take out the shed in a heartbeat. They could take out that shed in a heartbeat, no lie, Miss Anderson, and there'd be hell to pay for them, sure enough. The beating I took at the order of Mr. Fegan was nothing like what he and the law would do to 3 black boys causing trouble. I was still shaking like when I had the scythe fever, but I felt like I had to stop things. I gave Shag a command to come by, and together we moved out of the stand of the trees, and I took one side of the cows and spent Shag on the other side. But I can tell you what exactly happened after that. But I can't tell you what exactly happened after that. I gave commands and I saw Shag follow, but I heard shouting and calling in my ears, muffled. Things all blocked up in my head when I had the cold settle there last winter. My hearing wasn't wasn't the only thing blocked. I moved, but it was like I was walking through molasses, and I knew I would be able to stop those cows from hitting the shed. I don't know if it was that I was sure of what I was doing. I don't know if it was the boys were getting between Shag and the cows. I simply don't know what went wrong. At the last minute, I had the presence in mind to call Shag out of the way, and she pulled out right before the shed would have collapsed on her. The cows just hit the shed and sheared off, and shelter collapsed, and their battling cries filled the air so loud, shaking the skies, it seemed like the people would have been able to hear all the way into Bedford City and downtown Lynchburg. I looked back and I thought I could see those stats of the shed that as it fell, and see the meat falling on the pit where the fire kept it stoked. I see winter's worth of food lost. I heard shouts, cries far and near, and I rushed to safety of the trees. Shag called to my side. I know I must have imagined this scene. I couldn't really have seen between the slats, but I would have sworn on a month of Sundays that I'd seen it. It is that vivid in my mind. Hams hanging, falling down into a pit, while screaming cows slammed into the fallen boards as it hit the ground. The cattle continued to mill about, stumping the ground and mooing loudly, but the act of knocking the structure down seemed like it had taken most of the scare out of them. Suddenly, I saw Frank Charles in the middle of the cows. Where'd he come from? He was calming them, easing them, and then he looked me straight in the eye. I wish I could have made this a clear scene for you, but I lived it, and I cannot make it clear for me, but I don't know how I can make it clear for you. It's a jumble of moments, a massive minutes that happen like blinking of an eye, one of them, then another, then another, and I don't know what happened to James or his friends Cabby or Montgomery Watkins, but I heard their shouts and saw them start the cows toward the building. I didn't think of them again, so sure was I that Shag and I could stop things. I didn't think of them again, so sure was I that Shag and I could stop things. But we didn't. I didn't do anything but risk Shag at the building collapse. I think I might have made things worse. Mr. Fegan rushed up, and I pulled my head back into the bushes and gave Shag a signal to be still. My heart felt like it was pounding through my chest, and my mouth went dry, like after I'd run my hardest. God darn, boy, who's messing with my cows? Mr. Fegan yelled, pushing his hand through the air. Frank Charles eased his fingers into Bessie and pulled his back square between me and his paw. I spooked him. Didn't mean to, Paul. I just cracked a stick and it sent them sort of like a nervous spell. I didn't mean to, really. Mr. Fegan lashed out and smacked Frank Charles full on the mouth. Shag started to rise, but I stopped her, and there was no sound at all. Frank Charles put his hand over his cheek and mumbled, sorry, over and over. The cows followed Mr. Fegan's sharp command, and he started behind them. Come on, boy. Gotta get some bags. Try to save some of that meat. God Almighty, but you're one sorry excuse of a son. Frank Charles took one deep breath, but I didn't look back. I know he saw me. I know he saw James. And now I told you what will happen to Miss Anderson. What will happen to us, Miss Anderson? Frank Charles took one deep breath, but didn't look back. And I know he saw me. I know he saw James. And now I've told you. What will happen to us, Miss Anderson? What will happen to us now? Wow, that was really a vivid story of James, who was angry, doing something to get back at white folks. I don't know, but unfortunately, Kizzy Ann got herself in the middle of it by just being present. What would you think to do, boys and girls? Would you have stayed to try to stop the situation? Would you have just kept going? Wow. Well, friends, we'll be back again tomorrow for our next journal. Thank you.